The morning the world shifted for me started bright and deceptively peaceful, sunlight spilling across my small apartment like it had no idea how heavy my chest felt. I had slept just 3 hours, replaying the day before in a loop that refused to unhook itself from my mind. A single moment kept returning, sharp and vivid, her face pale and trembling, standing in the doorway of the cafe with a suitcase in her shaking hands. But it wasn't the moment she appeared. It was the moment I realized my joke from yesterday had not been a joke to her, not even close. Before we begin, if you believe in kindness, compassion, and second chances, please take a moment to like, comment, share, and subscribe to Touch of Kindness. Your support keeps stories like this alive. Her name was Averie Rowan, and she had a softness about her that made the world seem gentler whenever she stepped into a room. She worked as a part-time assistant at the community library, forever shelving books in quiet aisles where the dust danced like glitter in the sunlight. I met her when I delivered a stack of repaired furniture. The library was renovating, and I had been hired to fix old chairs and restain tables. She hovered nearby, shy but curious, as if watching someone bring old things back to life gave her a strange sense of hope. I remember the first moment I noticed something was off. She flinched when a chair leg tapped the floor, like the sudden sound hurt. She smiled too quickly at small things, apologized too often, and thanked me too intensely for the simplest tasks. She carried bruises she pretended not to have, some visible, some hidden beneath long sleeves, even in warm weather. But it wasn't until the afternoon I found her sitting behind the library, crying as quietly as someone could cry, that I understood the truth. Her partner, no, her tormentor, had thrown her out again, not physically that time, but with words sharp enough to carve into bone. I sat beside her in the shade of a large maple tree, offering the only comfort I had, silence and presence. She'd whispered, "It's fine. I'll be fine," even though her hands shook too hard to wipe her tears. I had meant to lighten the mood, to break the tension, to make her laugh even a little. So I said with a smile, "If he keeps kicking you out, you might as well just move in with me." A joke, a silly, lighthearted attempt to distract her. She looked up at me with stunned eyes. I laughed it off. She didn't. I didn't know then what that offer meant to her, what kind of lifeline it became overnight. The next day she stood outside the cafe where I usually grabbed breakfast. She wasn't wearing her usual soft cardigans or thin scarves. Instead she had on a t-shirt, exposing a bruised shoulder she didn't bother hiding. She held a small rolling suitcase and an overstuffed tote bag. Her eyes were red, swollen, exhausted. And she said, voice cracking, "Is your offer still good?" That moment split something inside me. The world suddenly felt too sharp, too bright. The cafe clatter faded, and all I saw was her, terrified, desperate, and clinging to the only moment of kindness she had been offered in too long. I took her bags without another word, guided her to my truck, and opened the door for her. She sat down like someone who had run out of strength hours earlier. The drive back to my apartment was silent, filled with the hum of the engine and the soft sound of her trying not to cry. Sunlight flickered through the windshield, warming her face. She stared out the window like she didn't quite believe she was allowed to be in a peaceful place. My apartment was modest, a one-bedroom with mismatched furniture I had either built or rescued. The living room was bright during the day, sunlight pooling across the wooden floor like spilled honey. When she stepped inside, she paused as if the quiet itself startled her. "You can take the bedroom," I said gently. "I'll sleep on the couch." "You don't have to," she started. "I want to." That was the first moment she smiled that day. It was small, fragile, but real. In the days that followed, Averie moved quietly through my home like she was afraid of disturbing the walls. She folded blankets she hadn't used, washed dishes I told her to leave, and stayed in the corners of rooms as if trying to make herself smaller. But gradually, very gradually, something changed. She started humming. Softly at first, barely audible, but enough that I caught it while I made coffee. A simple song, something she probably grew up hearing, something warm. She also started eating a little more, talking a little more, laughing once or twice at small things. The way my cat, a stray I never named because he never let me, stole her socks. The way my neighbor's toddler knocked on the door just to show her flowers from the yard. The way I burned pancakes 3 mornings in a row, but insisted I was improving. But healing is never a straight path, and hers came with shadows. Sometimes she woke up gasping, clutching the blanket with wide, terrified eyes. Sometimes a loud noise outside made her freeze, trembling so hard the mug in her hands rattled. Sometimes she apologized to me for things that didn't need apologizing, like asking for more tea or leaving a book on the couch or laughing too loudly. Every time I reminded her she was safe. One afternoon, she found a small toolbox in my storage room. I had kept it for years, an old wooden box my father gave me before he passed. She traced the carved initials on its lid and asked softly, "Did someone make this for you?" "Yeah," I said, a lump forming in my throat. "My dad." She didn't ask what happened next. She just placed the box back gently and touched my arm, offering silent comfort in a way that words couldn't. We started sitting together on the balcony during daylight, watching the neighborhood go by. Kids playing, neighbors gardening. The world felt normal and warm, and Averie leaned into it as though relearning what everyday peace felt like. But peace doesn't always stay unchallenged. Her ex found out where she worked. He didn't show up at my apartment, but he came to the library. He shouted, made a scene, threw her books to the ground. She called me in a panic, her breath jagged and breaking. I drove faster than I should have, heart pounding like it could burst. When I got there, she was standing outside, trembling, arms wrapped around herself. People passed by, pretending not to see. I walked straight to her and wrapped my jacket around her shoulders. She melted into me with a relief that nearly brought me to my knees. "He said I'd come back," she whispered. "He said I always do." "You're not going back," I said firmly. "Not now. Not ever." It was daytime, bright and warm, but her world had felt dark until that moment. I brought her home and made her tea. She cried silently at the kitchen table, and I stood beside her, not touching her, just being there, being steady, being safe. Healing returned slowly, but this time with determination. She applied for a full-time position at the library. She started taking walks alone in the morning light. She left sticky notes on the fridge, little reminders to buy fruit, little messages like "thank you for everything" or "your pancakes are improving, I promise." One evening, while she chopped vegetables beside me, sunlight streaming through the window onto the cutting board, she said softly, "You know, that day you joked about moving in." She paused. It saved me. I didn't know how to respond, but I knew what she meant. Months passed, and her laughter grew stronger, her voice steadier, her steps lighter. The change in her was impossible not to notice. She went from a shadow to someone who glowed in daylight, someone who looked out the window with hope instead of fear, someone who organized shelves of books with passion instead of exhaustion. And one sunny afternoon, while we both folded laundry, mundane, ordinary, perfect, she said, "Do you think I should start looking for my own place soon?" "I don't want to intrude." I froze. The thought of her leaving made my chest tighten unexpectedly. "You're not intruding," I said quietly. She looked up at me, eyes soft. "But do you want me to stay?" I swallowed hard. "Yes, I do." She smiled, a real smile, bright and open and full of life, and said, "Then I think I'll stay a little longer." Little longer turned into weeks, weeks into months, and somewhere in that warm stretch of time, my apartment stopped feeling like my place and became our place, her books on my shelves,